Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, welcome back to Matsasurba online English lesson with me, Ratna Hidayati. This is an English video lesson for grade 9 of SMP or MTS. And we are going to learn about models of suggestions, obligations, and agreement and disagreement. Before we start, let's say the dua together. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Raditu billahi rabba wa bil islami dina wa bi Muhammadin nabiyyan wa rasula. Rabbi zidni ilma warzuqni fahma waj'alni min ibadika sholihin. Amin amin ya rabbal alamin. May Allah let our heart be filled with light and insight and knowledge and understanding. The Islamic base of this lesson is Surah As-Surah, verse 47. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Astajibu li rabbikum min qabli an ya'tiya yawmun la maradda lahu min Allah. Ma lakum min malja'in yawma idhin wa ma lakum min nakir. Respond to your Lord before the coming of a day from Allah that cannot be averted. There will be no refuge for you then, nor grounds for denials of sins. And the aim of the lessons is, by the end of the lesson, you will be able to identify first, expressions to give suggestions to do and not to do something, expressions to state rules, expressions to say, to argue or disagree with rules, suggestions, and invitations, expressions to invite someone to do and not to do something, and to keep good interpersonal relationship. Okay, let's start now. Please study the following dialogue. This dialogue is taken from English book Think Globally, Act Locally, page 19. In this dialogue, the students, they are Benny, Dayu, Siti, Edo, and Lina, are talking about their wall magazine. Please look at the statements that are underlined. Some of them are expressions of giving suggestions, expressing agreement, and expressing disagreement. Now, let's analyze together. Look at this chart. In the dialogue, Benny gave suggestion. I think we should start our wall magazine now. Dayu also gave suggestions. We should plan it carefully. We should go to people who know how to make a wall magazine. Moreover, she also expresses disagreement to Benny's idea. I don't think we can start now. And here Siti agrees with Dayu. She says, I agree with Dayu. And he gave suggestions. We should think before we leap. Okay, now look at the continuation of the dialogue. Okay, look at the expressions that are underlined. They are underlined with different colors, different lines. Please notice what they mean. You can take your dictionary and look at each expressions. When you find difficult words, please consult with your dictionary. Now, let's look more closely at each expressions used in the dialogue. Okay, I think we should start our wall magazine now. We should plan it carefully. The text should be good and interesting. What if we go to Mrs. Tini and ask her for advice? Why don't we go back to SMP Sumber Ilmu tomorrow to look closely at their wall magazine? Well, they are all expressions to give advice or suggestions. Look at some sentences. Some of them use should. Some of them use what if. And why don't we? Now let's focus on the use of should. Let's make other sentences. Okay, I have given you some sentences here. These are all suggestions. You should study harder. Drivers should obey the speed limit. You shouldn't leave your keys in the car. Right, the last one here is in the form of negative. Right, in the negative sentence, when we use should, we can contract the word should and not become shouldn't. Okay, look, okay, notice that T here is often hard to hear in relaxed spoken English. So it's not shouldn't, but it's shouldn't. Okay, as if the T is not heard. Okay, can you find the negative from the dialogue? Okay, let's look at some sentences from the dialogue. We should not just put anything there. There should not be many mistakes there. Okay, let's make other sentences. We should not waste our time. We should not be lazy to study. So, what is the function of modal should? Right, the first one is to give advice or recommendations or to express obligation and expectation. Let's see some more examples. You should do more exercise. So this is an advice from a doctor maybe or an expert. You shouldn't smoke. This one is too. And we should report the incident. Well, it's time to do an exercise. Okay, the exercises in this meeting will be divided into 4 parts. And this one is the first part. Remember, do the exercise on the Google form in your Google Classroom. Okay, let's continue the lesson. We are going to talk about models of obligation now. Look at these two monologues. These two monologues are taken from English books Think Globally, Act Locally for grade 9 of SMP or MTS, page 26. Okay, look at the word that is in bold. Right, they are must and must not. We must wear a uniform every day. From Monday to Thursday, we must wear the batik shirt. The girls must wear a black skirt and the boys must wear a pair of black pants. On Friday, we must wear the school uniform. We must wear proper shoes. We must not wear sandals, a t-shirt, or a casual wear at any place and at any time during the school hours. Okay, the next monologue. We must not be late to school. We must come on time to class and to the flag ceremony. If we are late, we must wait outside the gate. We must not come in until the security guard gives us permission. We must sign a paper before we come to class. If we cannot come on time for any reason, we must hand in a notice from our parents to the principal. Okay, let's talk about must. What is must used for? Right, it's to say something is essential or necessary. Okay, to say that something is essential or necessary. It expresses personal obligation. So the obligation is come from the speaker. It expresses what the speaker thinks is necessary. Must here is subjective, based on the subject of the speaker, of course. And it is used more in formal writing, for example, in written notices. Okay, besides using must, we also use have to talk about obligation. Okay, let's see what have to here is for. Right, have to here is to say about an obligation forced by external power. It expresses obligation that is not subject's opinion. So, it's not the opinion of the speaker. It expresses what the law or rules say. Thus, have to here is objective, not subjective. And it is used more in conversation. So, do you still confused? When you must use must and when you must use have to? Okay, now let's look at this. Must and have to are both used for obligation and are often quite similar. Okay, they are similar, so sometimes it can make us confused. Okay, they are also both are followed by the infinitive. Look at the example. I must go now. I have to go now. Okay, but are these two exactly the same? Let's check together. Okay, please look at some examples that I have prepared for you. I give you examples of how to use must and how to use have to. I hope it will help you to understand clearer. Okay, the first one. I must stop smoking. You must visit us soon. He must study harder. In England, you have to drive on the right. Most school children have to wear a uniform. Salim has to wear a tie at work. Well now, can you notice what are the differences? Okay, let's look at the table here. Okay, for must, okay, here are the differences for must. For here, usually is for more personal opinions, obligations about what it is necessary to do. It is more personal, right? But for have to, here is what somebody in authority has said and it is necessary to do. So it is not a personal opinions. It is because it is the law. Okay, now the next. Must is subjective. Subjective here means personal obligations. While while have to here is objective or impersonal obligations. So it doesn't come from the personal. And must here is used more in formal writing, while have to is used more frequent in conversation. Okay, and must here is a modal verb, and modals don't change. Okay, so modal here don't change, but have to here changes in the third personal person singular. Okay, or he, for example, he has to, she has to, it has to, but not modal. Okay. The negative form of must is just by adding with not after the word must not. And the function is to say that something is against the rule or not permitted or allowed. Okay, when it is negative, it can be subjective. It is the speaker's opinion, or objective, a real law or rule. Okay, now let's look at the examples. I mustn't eat so much sugar. This one is subjective. This is the opinion of the person. You mustn't watch so much television. This one is also subjective. Students must not leave bicycles here. This one is objective. So there is a law that saying that students must not leave the bicycle in the certain place. And then policemen must not drink on duty. This one is also objective because this is the rules for the policeman. Now, what about the negative form of have to? Okay, for have to, it's not the same with must. Okay, this is like a verb. Okay, does not plus have to or do not plus have to. Okay, and the function is to say that people are not obliged to do something or expresses something that is not necessary to do. Now, let's look at the examples. Teachers don't have to work on Sunday. In Britain, people don't have to carry a passport with them. She does not or she doesn't have to come if she is busy. Okay, we come to the next part of the exercise. There are 5 items here, 5 numbers. Please choose the correct forms, don't have to or mustn't to complete the sentences. Okay, as the first part, this part is also have to be done on your Google form in your Google Classroom. Well, now let's continue with the expressions of agreeing and disagreeing. Okay, this dialogue is taken from the same book. Okay, look at this. This is a dialogue between Benny, Dayu, Siti, Edo, and Lina. Look at the expressions that is underlined. Okay, these two expresses agreement. Okay, this is the continuation of the dialogue. Okay, those are also express agreement. There are many ways of expressing agreement and disagreement. Some of them are direct agreement. It means that you completely and openly agree with someone's opinion. Here are the examples. I agree. That's a good point. That's right. That's true. That makes sense. Okay, and similarly, direct disagreement. You can show that you completely and openly disagree with someone's opinion directly. The examples are, I disagree. I don't think so. I don't agree with you there. There are some disagreements that are strong. Okay, and these are implied statements. So you'd better not use these expressions to older people. Okay, you may use it to your friends. That's fine. Okay, but not for older people. Remember that. Okay, they are, that's ridiculous. You can't be serious. Get real. Where did you come up with that idea? Okay, and some other expressions is a are softened disagreement. So, if you say to older people, if you want to show your disagreement, you can use these expressions. Okay, by using these expressions, you disagree with someone's opinion or idea, but not completely. Okay. The examples are, that's true, but I see your point. However, that's a valid point, but that's a nice idea. However, I like it, but maybe you should try looking at this view. Okay, we come to the third part of the exercise. Okay, look at this dialogue. Okay, and by looking at this dialogue, okay, please answer the question. In the following conversation, what do Bayu and Udin agree on? So this dialogue is between Bayu and Udin. They are talking about something. They agree on something and disagree on another thing. Okay, please answer these questions on your Google form of your Google Classroom. Okay, let's continue the lesson. Now we are talking about conjunctions of goals. Okay, study the following dialogue. This dialogue is between Siti, Dayu, and Edo. Okay, look at this. Have to, in order to let, so that, in order to. What do you think these are about? This is the continuation of the dialogue. In order to. Okay, both of them are in order to show the goals. Okay, let's see this table. Okay, this is an example. Okay, we can use so that, in order that, to, or in order to show our purpose. So this is the conjunctions when we want to show our purpose or goal. Okay, look at this. The action is, I asked him to move. Okay, so I could see the screen better. I asked him to move so that I could see the screen better. I asked him to move in order that I could see the screen better. You can also use to or in order to, but okay, the sentences or the phrase that you use is different. Okay, so when you use so that, in order that, okay, you use a complete sentence. But when you use to or in order to, you just follow or you show your purpose here using a phrase, not a full sentence. Okay, so this one is, I asked him to move to see the screen better. I asked him to move in order to see the screen better. Well, here is the last part of the exercise. Okay, in this exercise, you have to choose the correct conjunction of goals to complete the sentences below. Okay, there are 5 items here. Please do them carefully. Well, this is the last part of this video lesson. Let's sum up. To express an obligation, we can use should, must, and have to. Should is for giving suggestion. Must is for expressing a personal obligation. Have to is for stating an impersonal obligation. You can express your agreement and disagreement in English directly and indirectly. And conjunction of goals can be used to give reason or to show goals. Well, we have come to the end of this video lesson. Let's say hamdalah together. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Thank you so much for your attention. See you again on my next video lesson. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye now.